Well, good evening, everybody. It's Bobby Harvey once again broadcasting live from the station platform in downtown Ottumwa, Iowa, where we are awaiting a, for the most part, on time westbound Amtrak California Zephyr train. Our next edition of our weekly live streams that we do here on the Bobby Harvey Video Productions channel. And usually, this is what we do for the past several months. I've been down here filming Amtrak's California Zephyr coming in live, either on Saturday or Sunday, every week, or as much as I can. And that's what we're doing tonight. We are waiting for the train, as usual. Train was a little late, but not much, leaving Mount Pleasant. It was running pretty much on time, so we should be expecting them probably within the next, 10, 15 minutes or so. So we are here on the platform. It's turned out to be a very nice evening, as it usually does by the time we're down here filming. Earlier today, it was very hazy. Just not a very good photography day, but I did manage to get out and get one or two trains earlier today, actually. We'll talk about that as things go along here, along the stream. And it was very, very hazy. Clouds were just kind of very thin, but it kind of, the sun was really high in the sky, and it's been very hot and sticky. So, but tonight, it's still hot, very humid, but most of the clouds have rolled away, so we get this really nice early evening light here in Ottumwa. And it's perfect for a westbound train. We're looking east. Get some good light on the westbound train as it comes into the station. So just a few of you are here right now. We'll go through the chat as we go along. As far as I know, so far, we just have the Zephyr, the only train lined up so far from what I've heard. Haven't really heard much on the radio at all. But we're listening, so in case we hear anything, any news of any other trains, I'll definitely let you know. But right now, only the Zephyr is coming, but that could change. I'll look at the signals really quick. When I came over the bridge earlier to come down here, the eastbound signals east of the station were dark. And the ones west of the station were too when I got here. That's probably changed. So we're going to take a quick look here. Well, from what I can see, the signals are still dark to the west, but with how low the sun is getting and how bright it is, I might not be able to see them very clearly from where I'm standing. As far as I know, the Zephyr is still running pretty much on time. They were west of Mount Pleasant when I looked before I left the house, so they are definitely on their way. Now, the last time we were down here, about 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty special treat. We had the eastbound Zephyr coming in very late, and then the westbound Zephyr. So we had a lot of action 2 weeks ago on the stream. Tonight, it's going to be just more of the usual westbound train and whatever else we can get. Again, I have not heard any news on the radio of any other trains in the area right now, but that could change. As usual, we will keep the stream rolling for probably, 45 minutes to an hour, see whatever we can see in that amount of time. Now, as far as the Zephyr goes, there's been a lot of issues with timekeeping on the Zephyr route lately. There have been some trains that were delayed last week, I think it was, or maybe early the week before. Down power lines and bad storms over in the Omaha-Lincoln area. There was some engine trouble for one of the westbound Zephyrs in Colorado. A lot of stuff's been going on the Zephyr route lately. A lot of the trains have been running very late. Now, that train we saw last week, whoa, welcome, Mark. Mark is here with the super chat. Thank you very much. That is incredible. Thank you. Welcome to the stream. So 2 weeks ago, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate that. That is very nice of you. So 2 weeks ago, when the Eastbound Zephyr came in with the Union Pacific engine on the front, they had engine issues out west, and they took one of the P-42s off and replaced it with the Union Pacific locomotive. And that, I think there were other things that happened to that train too before that happened. So it was just kind of a series of unfortunate events. By the time it came into here, and the reason we were able to see it 2 weeks ago on the stream, it was over 10 hours late. So we got to see it come in, and then not too long after that, we got to see the westbound normal train come in. Now, I'm pretty sure, I'm not for certain, but it seems like the westbound, last time we did a stream, was led by locomotive 136, and that is also the case tonight. It might actually be the same consist, somewhat. We'll have to see. Now, there's some chatter on the CPKC frequency, which we can kind of see the CPKC tracks from here if we turn the cameras west. But we can't see a whole lot. And obviously with my phone, the zoom doesn't work very well. I mean, it digitally zooms in, it doesn't have an optical zoom, so you can't really see anything in the distance very well. If I had my regular video camera, I'd be able to zoom up pretty well. Now there is something on the BNSF radio, so we'll listen to that, see what goes on here.
Cargill, copy. Come on down, we'll drop you down there at the ice and on the Amtrak swap it. We'll cruise on 2. 49, dead on 3.
Oh. Well, what we kind of heard, kind of chopped off by the CPKC dispatcher.
No work, need to ride up Burlington over.
Sounds like the local train 664 is about ready to head out of Cargill. And they were just talking about sliding through the ice while Amtrak does their crew change. So we may or may not see that train. Amtrak might be blocking our view, but we'll have to see. Amtrak might slide in and out of here before it gets here. If they're just leaving Cargill, it'll probably be 10 or 15 minutes before they get here. As you can see, the conductor for the Zephyr is already walking down the platform, so that means Amtrak is getting close. And as I said right before the CPKC started talking, engine 136 was on the train a couple weeks ago when we filmed, I think. And it is on the train tonight again. The second locomotive, I think, is going to be number 50. Come in on the Galesburg rail cam. We'll have to see. It's the usual consist, except actually, it is in the normal consist westbound. Now, the eastbound train, which we'll talk about, if Amtrak's coming in now, we'll talk about it a little later. But I got the eastbound Amtrak train this afternoon. It was also running pretty late, about 5 hours late. 4 or maybe 4 hours late. No, 5 hours, because it left Ottumwa a little after 2. The eastbound train, and it did not have a lounge car in the consist. There's been a shortage of sightseer lounge cars on the Zephyr lately. And last week, if you remember, the eastbound Zephyr that was really late did not have a sightseer lounge car in service on the train. Instead, it had a diner lounge car. The eastbound Zephyr I saw this morning just had a dining car, I think. It did not have a diner lounge or a sightseer lounge car in the consist. Tonight's train, going west, does have a lounge car. Now, also on the eastbound Zephyr today, which they're probably getting close to Chicago by now, if they're not there already. The eastbound train today was led by Amtrak 203, the Operation Lifesaver P-42 locomotive. And unbeknownst to me, there were also 2 brand new Charger locomotives, 3rd and 4th in the lashup. Amtrak engines 375 and 376. They're the first batch of the second round of ALC 42 chargers that Amtrak has ordered. I think they ordered an additional maybe 50 of those. The first batch was 300 through 374, so 75 units. And then the next batch, I think, is another 50 or so. I'm not quite sure if I have that number quite right, but I think it's another 50 locomotives. Brings the total, when they are all delivered, up to about 120, 125, 130, somewhere in there. So I did not know those engines were trailing on the Eastbound Zephyr. I just knew that the Operation Lifesaver engine was on it. So I went east of town, about west of Batavia, which is east of Agency, and got them coming through at speed through the countryside. It's a railroad crossing that I like to go to pretty much in the middle of nowhere, in between Agency and Batavia, and I got that train. I'll probably upload that to YouTube tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Tomorrow or sometime in the future. Got a pretty good shot of the train going through east of Agency. It is very close to, if anybody is familiar with the geography around Ottumwa, there is a road intersection east of Agency that used to be known as the Eldon Y. It's where Highway 16 begins, goes south of Highway 34 and goes to Eldon. The first town south of there is Eldon. And so they used to call that the Eldon Y because it was kind of a large intersection where 16 branched off. And there was a gas station and even a truck weigh station there. Back when Highway 34 was just a 2-lane road, there was a weigh station there. And of course, all that is gone now. The gas station building is still there, but I think it finally shut down as it's off of the new 4-lane significantly. Some of the 2-lane road could still be traveled on, but of course it's been downgraded significantly since when it was the main highway. And I can actually remember when Highway 34 was 2-lane east of Ottumwa. It was kind of a small 4-lane road between Ottumwa and Agency, and then it went up through Agency as a 2-lane road, and it was 2-lane all the way through Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, and I think it became 4-lane at New London, and then was 4-lane the rest of the way to Burlington, and then bypassed Burlington. Of course, years ago, that wasn't even there, but when we first moved to the area back in the late 90s, that's pretty much how Highway 34 was then. Of course, now, east of Ottumwa, 34 is 4-lane with freeway bypasses of Fairfield and Mount Pleasant and Burlington all the way to the Mississippi River, where it is 4-lane for a short distance and then goes back to 2-lane on the Illinois side. So that's where I was earlier today. And while I was out there, I also got a westbound freight train. It came through just before Amtrak on the other track. And it was an empty intermodal well car train. And it was led by a Union Pacific locomotive, a single Union Pacific locomotive. And it was, I think it was an AC 4400 CW, or maybe it was one of the remanufactured engines. But it was in the new incarnation of the Union Pacific paint scheme, with just the shield on the nose, the small flag next to the cab numbers on the side, and then the block Union Pacific lettering on the sides instead of the large flag that's been on the engine. It's been on the standard UP paint scheme for the past 20 years or so. Now, I think that was adopted because the flag decals on the side, the large flag decals on the side of the UP engines would kind of get ragged after a while, and a lot of people did not appreciate Union Pacific not keeping up on those decals. It's kind of disrespectful towards the American flag. So smaller decal next to the cab is a lot easier to manage and reapply if necessary. And so they replaced the flag with the regular block UP letters on the side, which is kind of a callback to how the paint scheme was prior to 2001 when the flag scheme was adopted. I'm pretty sure that that's the first time I have gotten one of those engines in the new UP paint scheme on video. Kind of ironic that I would see my first one on a BNSF train on the BNSF in southern Iowa instead of like on the UP in the middle of Iowa. Whew, man, it is really humid down here right now. But as we can see, the conductor and a lot of the passengers are out now, kind of milling about on the platform. You can kind of see down there. So the train is getting close. Now, A Train commented not too long ago. He said the train was by agency. That was at 6:53. So it's getting very close. And Mark said that number 6 was approaching Yorkville, Illinois. So they're not even to Chicago yet. They're getting close. Yorkville, I think, is just right on the western fringe of the Chicago suburbs. I think Yorkville is around Salmonaught and Sandwich and Plano, in that area. Might even be right before Montgomery, which is right before Aurora. And then, of course, the Chicago suburbs begin. And it's the Zephyr makes one more stop in Naperville, and then it's smooth sailing all the way to Chicago from there. So welcome everybody to the stream tonight. We are waiting for Amtrak here in Ottumwa. The light is very nice. It is very hot, still, and humid tonight here in town.
Number 5 on the approach.
All right, and as we just heard, we heard them say number 5 on approach. So I'm guessing, and my theory is probably going to be correct, I'm guessing they're going to run 664 across while Amtrak is in the station, so we may not be able to see them. We'll see. We might go ahead and jump down to the edge of the platform and see if we can get them going by before Amtrak leaves, if that's the case. In the meantime, we have our train arriving here on track 1.
I agree.
Westbound California Zephyr.
Is this someone dispatcher over? Amtrak train 5, and track number 730-28. 28 displays and ready over. Roger that. Engineer nav, Dr. Ewer with the AMTK 136, reporting clear left of track number 730-28 from CTC CP25 and to CTC Ottumwa on main 1 at 1900 1900. AMTK 136 west, reporting clear track 4 and 730-28 between CP 2502 and CTC Ottumwa 1900 1900. Is that correct over? All correct over. All right. Thanks guys. Have a good rest of your day. Metro.
Okay, the train has arrived. Changing the engineers down there, as you can see. Ottumwa is a crew change point. So my guess is that BNSF is going to run train 664 They're going to cross it over at the IC&E, which is down there at the CPKC. And we might go up there and see them go by if they show up. I'm guessing they're going to let them come in and go across and then give Amtrak the signal. So I'll keep watching just to make sure that that is the case. So as suspected, engine 136 in the lead. And engine 50 trailing. And yes, as Mark asks, actually Matthew Bernstein asked, how many engineers drive the train? On this crew district, it is just one. Now there are some that require 2 engineers in the cab if the crew district is longer than a certain number of hours. I think it's like, if it's over like timetable time, like 7 hours or 5 or 6 hours, something like that. Amtrak likes to have 2 engineers in the cab for longer districts. Yeah, as Mark says right now, it's a 2-man job between Lincoln and Denver. That is a long district, obviously, so much longer than 5 hours. But this one, between Chicago and Ottumwa, is about 5, so it just requires 1 engineer. It's a good question, though. There's actually several districts that require 2 engineers in the cab at the same time. Obviously, they take turns running the train, with the other one observing. Now, I can't tell. I looked down at the signals. I can't tell if Amtrak has all red or a diverging approach. So with that being said, if they pull before there's any sign of the freight train, we'll just stay here. If I see the freight train coming, and we know that Amtrak has all red, and we'll move up a little bit to see them go by. But I think... Okay, that might be my answer. That is the warning whistle. They're making pretty decent time tonight. Not a very long stop. So my guess is that they do have an advance approach, a diverging approach. Red over yellow, which means they can leave. Just that the next signal will be stop. And yes, as JMAX official confirmed, 2 engineers are required if the scheduled run is over the 6-hour mark. That's about what I suspected. pretty sure they have a diverging approach down there. So they're going to go ahead and go before the freight train. I'm guessing that the dispatcher is crossing the freight train over at that new crossover west of town.
Amtrak 5, good markers. Amtrak 5, good markers. Good day for active PTC. Okay, Amtrak 5, eyeball. So we got Ottumwa initiating movement. Capacity all positive. Okay. Alright, Amtrak 5, just have a stop at the ICD. You want to go ahead and roll up to there? You want to sit here in case it takes a long time?
Yeah, it must be all stopped.
Amtrak 5 entered.
Okay. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but the eastbound local is going to cross in front of Amtrak. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move down to the edge of the platform, which we don't do this very much. So we're going to go ahead and move. Actually, never mind. They're going to go ahead and pull. That's okay. Here they go. This is going to be almost a perfect meet. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to just roll on down to the signal. It's red, but they're just going to roll down slowly and stop if they have to. And then once the local clears, it's going to turn signal green, and then Amtrak will have clear signals to go. Baggage car, transition sleeper. We have 3 sleepers tonight.
Amtrak 5, I'm over here, Justin. I'm over here, Justin.
And here's our dining car. It's a Superliner 2. Lounge car, sightseer lounge car. Smell food, smells good. And our 3 coaches. Got our 2 normal coaches. That's a Superliner 2 right there. Another coach, Superliner 1, and coach baggage on the end. And those are all Superliner 1s. And that's it. There they go. Amtrak is clear, but as you notice, they are rolling up to that red signal. And it will not take long to turn green, as the local is not a very long train. And yeah, as A-Train just commented, the Zephyr is one of the few trains that can actually stop for the signal down at the ice and then clear all of the 3 crossings that are down here. But like I say, they're just going to roll up and stop briefly. When the local clears, then they will have the track and they'll be able to proceed westbound on Main 1. So we didn't have to move at all because Amtrak is now clear for the local. But we're just going to stay put. This is an okay spot to get the freight train. So Amtrak is clear of the station in Ottumwa. For those of you just tuning in, let's go ahead and back up the stream about 10 minutes or so and you'll see the station stop. Or if you want to wait to do that, stick around because we have an eastbound freight train coming right now. I wonder if Amtrak got the signal. Now it is still red, so the local must be either going slow or a little longer. Yeah, that is the CPKC dispatcher we're hearing there. So the IC&E RRX, which is the crossing and interlocking down there. Of course, IC&E is from the days when this was the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern. And BNSF still has it named that, even though it has not been IC&E for almost 20 years, believe it or not. So if you can see the glint in the track there on the rails, we have our eastbound local freight approaching, and I have no idea what's on this train as far as locomotives go. So hoping it's something good. As you can see, they are kind of ramping up. They're through the crossover. So now they're going to jump back up to track speed. And I don't know if they've got any work down here in the yard or not. This looks good. Looks like it's looks like it might be a -840 BW. Maybe an old war bonnet. -8 or -9. Here we go. And there they go. The eastbound local freight 664 is now clear of the station. And as A-Train commented right before the train went through, he said he heard the dispatcher say no work. So they are highballing Ottumwa, heading east. And Amtrak is already heading west, getting the green signal to continue west behind us.
Well, what you have is correct, though.
So that was a pretty nice lash up for any train here in 2025. An old Santa Fe -9 on the front of the train, and an SD40-2 is the second unit. Pretty cool. I heard the train approaching and it sounded like an SD40-2. And the second engine, you could really hear it. It's not a bad lash up to see on any train these days. Well, the signals to the west have gone dark, which means there's no activity for westbound trains anyways, for the foreseeable future. Don't know if I can see the eastbound signals from here or not. They are still lit, but of course that eastbound just went through, so they don't always turn off right away if there's something in the plant. But at any rate, I've got some pretty decent action tonight for our live stream. JMax official, he just commented and asked where the locals come from and go to. Well, there's only 2 local freights on this portion of the Ottumwa subdivision, and that is train 664 that we just saw, and its westbound counterpart 663. They run from, well, the train we just saw, for example, it originates in Eddyville at the little Cargill area. Cargill spur that branches off to Cargill and all the industries in Eddyville. And that traffic gets handed off to BNSF, and they take it from the spur in Eddyville all the way to Galesburg, making switching along the way to any customers along the way. They do switching in Ottumwa often when they're going east. JBS and Lineage and some of the other industries that get cars here in Ottumwa. They also do switching in Mount Pleasant and Burlington, any other spots along the way that need serviced get served by the local. Same for the westbound, traffic from Galesburg going to Eddyville, any other local switching that needs done along the way. And the trains, the eastbound trains especially, take the cars to Galesburg, where they're interchanged onto other freight trains to be taken to their final destinations. It'd be interesting to know where all the corn syrup goes from the Cargill plant in Eddyville, probably to many different places nationwide. Would not surprise me. Now, the Eddyville industries are also served by trains on Union Pacific on the Oskaloosa subdivision that runs north from Eddyville to Marshalltown. And they take a lot of Cargill traffic up north, as well as some other traffic from the other industries in Eddyville, along with some customers in Oskaloosa and Grinnell, among others. That is a really fun line to rail fan. I did a lot of rail fanning on that line last year. Haven't done any yet this year, but I did a lot last year, and it's mainly because Union Pacific had one of their former Southern Pacific patched GP60 locomotives leading their local train down the Oskaloosa subdivision last year. And believe it or not, it happened again this year, the same engine. But it has been leading, facing north, going northbound, leading northbound trains. I don't know if it's still on there or not. Now, JMax official also just asked, when does the westbound local usually come through? Now, that's a good question, because not too long ago, we actually, in fact, I think we actually saw it in our last stream, I think. But it's not normally an evening train through Ottumwa. I think a lot of times it's actually a morning train, or an early morning train. I haven't gotten very much video of the westbound train because it comes through at a much different time of day. A lot of times I think they come through even before Amtrak in the mornings. The eastbound that we just saw is a lot easier to predict. They usually come through about Amtrak time every evening, so in between 6-7 o'clock in that time frame. And it's really nice because it's a really good train to see. Because it always has, like we just saw on today's train, it always has really nice locomotives on it from Santa Fe and Burlington Northern. All the older engines run on that train typically. Sometimes it has more newer road power, but a lot of times it doesn't, so it's a really fun train to see. And it's easy to see when you're down here getting Amtrak because a lot of times it comes through at about the same time. It's actually very common to see them come in or be in the area at the same time Amtrak is. Like Amtrak could actually be in the station and they come running through on Main 2. Yeah, my scanner's batteries are getting low. I brought some replacements, but hasn't chirped a whole lot yet, so we'll hold off on that. Yep, JMax official also says that, and this is also true, the Denver Z trains are also night owls as well. And that is true, unless they're really late. They almost always come through at night. And I think the eastbound will typically come through in the early morning. The westbound, I think, is always at night, though. And those are actually the highest priority freight trains on this line, are the 2 intermodal trains from Denver to Chicago. They used to be called the Den Chi and Chi Den. Now I think it's the Den CHC and CHC Den. The Chicago Intermodal Terminal has changed to, I think it might be the Cicero Terminal instead of one of the other Chicago terminals. That's been a change in like the past year or so. Essentially, as far as I know, it carries the same traffic. High priority intermodal containers and truck trailers, piggyback, what they call piggyback, where truck trailers are hauled on flat cars. Iowa Trains just commented that yesterday's 663 went through Ottumwa around 8 p.m. So that kind of contradicts my theory as far as when they go through. So maybe they've changed because, you know, last stream, we actually saw them go through. So maybe they've changed it to a later train as well. So we have Santa Fe fan 3751 is on the stream right now. Ask a couple of questions. First one is, have you ever heard of the abandoned Eurostar? I think so. That's over in Europe. Obviously, the Eurostar is a very famous high-speed train that runs from England to France. And if I recall, the service has been running for such a long time that one of the older sets has been retired and is abandoned. So yes, I have heard of that.
Alright, switching derail, right back, last pass. Is there anything still in there? Over.
Sounds like the dispatcher's talking to another freight train around Albia. Obviously, it's too late for us to be able to see that one tonight, but it might be the train from Des Moines that he's talking to right now. Now, Santa Fe fan also asks if I've ever heard of Coaster Fan. Well, if you're referring to Coaster Fan 2105, yes. I actually subscribe to him on YouTube. One of the more popular train YouTubers out there. Focuses a lot on the trains along the West Coast in California, but he's actually gone all over the country filming trains. Films a lot of his videos in 60 frame, 4K, is really good stuff.
KCSM 4741 north, towards South track 1025 1065 1927 1927
It does sound like there is a northbound train that's just come in to the CPKC yard. We're gonna flip our batteries real quick in the scanner. That chirping, beeping sound you hear is the sound that the scanner emits when the batteries are getting low. It's really nice because when you're out in the field, you're not really paying attention to your scanner battery. So, chirps, it means it's time to replace the batteries. And this is the scanner that I have. It is a Uniden Bearcat BC75 XLT. Turn it on here real quick. And as you can see, I turned it on. I've got banks programmed with all the different railroad frequencies. I've just got it on the first bank right now. The fourth bank actually has some of the end of train telemetry on it. So if I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out where a train is, see, that's the CPKC frequency.
1031, 1031, is August 16, 2025. To the CP 2277 to 277 north and RTH. At milepost 318 and P318. Check line 1, track 1, 1029, 1029.
I wonder if that's the tech train. I saw it came through yesterday, the day before. But that's kind of weird. Why would they be getting a track warrant when it's all CTC north of... Oh, wait. Never mind. That's... They said 319. That's south of Ottumwa. I was thinking north. So I bet that's the tech train coming back. So anyways, that little blip you just heard, which I'll turn that off now, that is the end of train telemetry. It's like a code that goes from the end of train device to the locomotive with information about the brake pipe pressure and other things. Obviously, when you hear that on the scanner, I mean, you can't, it doesn't decode any information for you, but you can hear it. It makes an actual audible blip when it goes over the radio. So when you have those frequencies programmed into your scanner, you have a pretty good idea of where a train is. It has like about a 2-mile radius on it, or 2-mile range. So when you hear that blip and you're in a spot where you don't know where any trains are, you know there's something nearby. I don't always have those programmed in because sometimes the sound can be a little distracting when I'm trying to take video. But it's a great tool to try and figure out how far away from a train that you are. Like if you're chasing one, for example. If you don't hear any telemetry, you know that well, you're either really ahead of the train or really behind. I wonder if that is the tech train that's coming. But obviously that's on the CPKC. We won't be seeing that from here. But we're getting close to the end of the stream for the night. Got 25 of you still watching though.
319 Kansas City, 717 main track. At 1930, 1930.
Go back through some of you guys' questions here before we sign off for the day. Now, Santa Fe fan also made an Old Threshers comment, which, believe it or not, Old Threshers is in less than 2 weeks from now. It's hard to believe. We're getting very close. He says the carbon limestone engine D9 had a different sounding horn in 2021. It does have a different horn compared to engine 14. It's a single note horn, or maybe it's just 2 bells. I don't remember, but yes, it does have a different sounding horn than engine 14. Yeah, Old Threshers is in less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Thursday this week, so we're already we're getting very close. And obviously my plan for future live streams, I'm going to try and do one next week, probably on Saturday, and then after that it'll be the week of Old Threshers, and I'll be busy doing Old Thresher stuff. So I will not be doing a live stream the weekend of Old Threshers. Now I did do one last year, but I probably won't do one this year because I'll probably use that time that I did a live stream last year and do some normal videoing instead. so I can get all the footage that I would like to get for the video of Old Threshers for this year. I'm going to try and get that one out pretty soon after Old Threshers. Instead of, next spring, I'm getting it out, in October or November. Yeah, CAB DeBoth commented about I'm pretty sure, I bet you that is the Des Moines train that the BNSF dispatcher was talking to, because he says that train's blocking Main 1 right now. Amtrak is going to most likely switch to Main 2. I think that's what they were talking about before they left Ottumwa, is that they were going to do just that. So, which makes sense, because when trains come off of the Des Moines subdivision, they are running on Main 1 until at least the Maxon crossovers. Look, there's another train, more communications in the CPKC. Okay, the westbound signals have lit up. May or may not mean anything. Might mean that eastbound freight train is getting in the plant, but that's not going to be for another probably 20 or 30 minutes. We're not gonna wait for it. Sun's going to be pretty much down by then, but getting close to wrapping things up for the night anyways. But yes, Amtrak is probably going to run on Main 2 and get around that freight train in Albia. So they might already have it lined up. But again, sometimes it can take 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes even close to an hour for freight trains to go between Albia and here. So we're not going to wait for it. Let's see what the eastbound signals look like. Well, it is clear, so something is lined, but like I said, it could be that train in Albia, and it could be, quite a ways out still. So we're going to go through the rest of you guys' questions and comments and wrap things up for the night. And pretty good night, though. Let's see Amtrak and the local train 664, so that's always good to get more than one train. Of course, obviously this stream is mainly emphasizing Amtrak, showcasing the Amtrak station stop here at the Ottumwa Depot. It's also nice to see some other trains too. And we have. It was a pretty good train at that. Now Dakota says, welcome Dakota. He said he spent the day learning how to set handbrakes in a couple cars and set switches. A couple D14 to some coaches for the first time. Now Dakota is a volunteer at the Midwest Central, just like me. I haven't ventured away from just doing conductor work so far, but sounds like Dakota's doing some work on the trains themselves. That's pretty cool. Eventually, I might start working on the engine crew over there, because obviously I would really like to eventually learn how to operate the locomotives and be an engineer. It's obviously lifelong dream of mine. And hey, if I can do it as a volunteer on a tourist railroad, that is just as good, maybe even better, because you get to run all the old stuff. You don't get to run any of that on the main lines today. So hoping to do that in the future sometime. DB42 asks, do you know why the Siemens Chargers are not on the Zephyr? I think it's because Amtrak is still trying to get a DEF diesel fuel vendor for the fuel stops along the Zephyr route. I don't think they've been able to secure one yet. Now, DEF is the newer diesel fuel blend that the Siemens Chargers use. It's a little different than what the P42s are using, so they need to have a special fuel vendor, and I don't think they have those lined up yet. But as far as I know, I mean, everybody keeps saying that once that the Chargers will eventually be introduced to the Zephyr, but I don't think they have those vendors set up yet. And once they do, I assume that the Chargers will be let loose on the Zephyr, but no official word of that yet, so we just have to wait and see. All right, folks, I mean, we do have a clear signal here, but again, that could mean a lot of things. It could mean the train is coming soon, but it also could mean that the train is 20 to 30 minutes away. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. But it's been a good stream. We've seen Amtrak and BNSF's local freight 664. And we've also had some pretty decent discussion in the chat. Listened to some radio communications here on the railroad frequencies. You know what's going on around here. Been a good night. So again, my next stream will most likely be next Saturday. Maybe if locomotive 203 sticks on the Zephyr, it'll do a round trip and then come back. If it stays in the rotation it's in, it might come back on the Zephyr next Saturday. So we'll have to see about that. And if so, that'll be an extra thing to look forward to. Either way, I'm probably going to do another stream next week. But the following week will be Old Threshers, and I will be there, and I probably will not do a live stream there. I'll just be focusing on doing normal filming with my actual video camera for my Old Threshers video. And that is already less than 2 weeks away. So we've got a lot to look forward to in the weeks to come. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up for this evening. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Big thanks to Mark for the super chat. Always appreciate that. It's very generous. And I really enjoy chatting with everybody here as we watch trains. So we're going to wrap things up for this evening. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully. Look for the notifications on YouTube and Facebook to see when I'll be doing those streams. And we'll see you all then. So, once again, this is Bobby Harvey here in Ottumwa saying thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time. So long, everyone. Have a good night.